You annoying robot. Maybe 5 minutes left.
Yo. Can you see me? Oh, wow. How far behind am I? Wow, there's quite a bit of yeah, there's quite a bit of lag between what I see on, not lag, but delay. Okay, so what were we talking about in the stream that you guys want to talk about? I can either let you know how I came to that conclusion, or I can debate it with you if you disagree.
Is it not done yet?
First of all, who agrees and disagrees? Round Earth? Okay, how many flat earthers do we have in the chat?
Why is there
an... minus 24 in first place, James. All right, I believe the Earth is round. So, Jim, you believe the Earth is flat? There's no judging going on here if anyone does believe it's flat. Yeah, I mean, it looks like most... all we need is one person to say it's flat and we can talk about it. All right. So if everyone agrees that the Earth is round... I don't think there's a discussion to be had on the round Earth. What do you guys think about... Oh, Marvin Hoffer pops in. It's flat. Oh, I think he's joking. He says LOL. We can just discuss why someone would not think it's flat. Okay. How about I play devil's advocate? I'll be the flat earth person, since I said I wouldn't be shocked if the earth was flat, but I don't believe that the earth is flat. So I'm gonna play devil's advocate. Okay, so I say the Earth is flat. I say the Earth is flat. Let's take like the Kyrie Irving approach or whatever and say, look at a ball. If I grab a ball, which I don't have balls laying around, if I have a ball in my hand and I want to stand on this side of it, even if I spin that ball really fast, I'm not really going to stick to that ball and I'm going to be super dizzy, right? How would you explain the horizon? Okay, so I actually have watched some videos. The flat earth believes that the sun is not as big as the sun is through science. People who believe the earth is flat believe the sun is more like a spotlight that is underneath like a glass globe or something, kind of like we're in a snow globe. And the spotlight goes around the Earth, creating a horizontal or horizon type effect. I'm assuming you mean sunsets and sunrises. And if it's like a spotlight, then you know it's only going to shine like so much. And then the moon is the same thing, but it's a smaller spotlight. That's what they say. So that's, I guess, how you would explain the horizon. I mean, if you're in a tall building or whatever and you look at the horizon, you don't see any curvature of the Earth. And, you know, the reason for that is obviously because the Earth is so enormous, you're not going to see a curvature because your eyes could probably only see, what, 5 or 10 miles? And the Earth is how many thousands of miles? So, again, I don't want someone just tuning in right now and thinking I believe the Earth is flat. I'm playing devil's advocate, so I don't need to fact check what I read on the internet because it conserves my preconceived ideas. Would you stick to it if you were small in comparison to the size of the Earth? I don't think so. If you put an ant on a ball, and ants got sticky feet, they can climb up walls and everything else. If you spin that fast enough, it's going to go flying off. I think it has more to do with the force of gravity. I don't think it has, like, if the Earth were to stop spinning. Because think about it, you could walk on the moon, and the moon doesn't spin very fast because it's landlocked with the Earth. So, like, one day on the moon, I think, is like 27 Earth days or something like that. So you could still stand on it. It's the gravity, which is a force that science can't explain yet, but we all know gravity exists. I can prove gravity because I can tell you, now, technically I can't prove it, but the theory of gravity works because I can tell you 100 times, this is too expensive, 100 times I can take this remote and I can guarantee it'll end up in my second hand. Look at that. I'm proving gravity. You know, even though gravity's a theory, because I can't take gravity and put it in a jar and, you know, paint it red and all that other stuff, but it works. You see it, you know. Matt says I think it's 30 days, but yeah, gravity I don't think has anything to do with how fast it's spinning. I could be wrong, but I think it's the bigger the object, the more gravity it has. Flat Earth crushed by discovery. Go into the ocean and you can see curvature. Yeah, Scott, unfortunately I can't go to the ocean, but I think a flat Earth person would say, even if they saw the curvature, they would say no one's saying the Earth is flat like a sheet. There could be bumps and hills and everything, and some of those hills might be very long hills that look like curvature. That's the best I can think of it. I mean, yeah, I can't. Hey, get out of there. So, yeah, more mass, more gravity. Jim Weathers has it. Now, Jim seems to be really scientific here. How do you explain our moon? Because this is somewhere we might disagree. Check out the video where they shot a laser out and then go out in a boat and they can see the laser is way above the boat. Okay, that's interesting. Jim, how do you think we got our moon? It's a piece of the Earth. Okay. I think we have a debate, guys. I think we have a debate. Why do you believe the moon is a piece of the Earth? Let's establish this first. Is it because another planet about the size of Mars crashed into the Earth and then there was like a debris field and the Earth gobbled up this planet and you know all the dust we had Saturn's rings and all this other stuff, and Saturn's rings slowly formed into a moon that was very large compared to Earth. Okay, and because its composition is the same as the Earth's, and they have tested the moon rocks too. Okay, I have a problem with that because first of all, you have a how do you know problem. And when I say how do you know, I mean it in terms of there's no crater, there's no proof that the moon hit the Earth. They're just saying because rocks are similar. Think of how close the moon is. Then again, think of how far the moon is. Did you know you could fit every other planet in the solar system in between Earth and the moon? I think that's a very fascinating fact. But think about technically, because Earth is so open and vast and everything, think about, you know, how close it is. Because, you know, you got to go all the way to Mars or all the way to Venus to visit the next planet. So wouldn't it make sense that it's going to be made up of very similar material? Because I think our moon is way too big for us to have ever captured it. And another planet blasting into the Earth, I think you're left with like nothingness. Either you're going to have a graze and both planets would still stay intact, albeit with catastrophic damage, or you're going to have a direct hit. I don't see how the Earth is going to gobble up the moon, spit out just a little bit through the debris, but yet the moon is huge in comparison. We have the biggest moon when you compare it to all the other moons that all the other planets have since they took Pluto away and call it a dwarf planet. We have the biggest moon in ratio size. I think we have the third biggest moon in the solar system, but we have the biggest moon in terms of how big the moon is compared to the Earth. And this is why I believe in God so strongly. Well, it's not why. My faith is my faith. But I believe this is proof for God and creation over random things happening, because if we didn't have a tidal-locked moon, you know, at the distance where it's at, we would have stagnant oceans, which would have no life. If it was closer, the tides would be way bigger, and, you know, we would basically have tidal waves every 12 hours. So from a creation standpoint, it works perfectly. We're a dual planet system, says Pokester. Matt Bunch says Jupiter with question marks. Not sure. Yeah, no, I know what you're saying very early on, but again, I think you're still destroying. I mean, those are two huge bodies. Just imagine Earth and Mars colliding, whether they're young or old, mostly molten lava or mostly rock. You're still, I mean, again, if it were to happen, it wouldn't shock me. But in terms of creation, the moon is placed at the perfect spot. Man, I'm just watching myself, my hands going back and forth. The moon is placed at the perfect spot for life. Without it, we have stagnant water, and life never, if you believe in evolution, life never evolves, right? Pluto is still a planet. It's a dwarf planet. It's not, we consider that we have 8 planets in our solar system now. We have, what, hundreds of planets if you include dwarf planets. So that's why I said Pluto isn't a planet. It's like space. How far does it go, and what is at the end of it? Great question, John Mosley, and I completely agree with what you're saying, and I hate when science says they know how big the universe is outside of the observable universe because they can make calculations or whatever. To me, that's bad science. Jim Weathers says, there are bigger moons in our solar system than the moon. Yes, Jim, that's why it's very important. What I said is ratio size. For the size of the Earth and the size of our moon, there's no other planet out there that has a moon as large as ours in comparison to its parent planet. That's the thing that I'm saying. If we had a typical moon that you find in our solar system, in comparison to the host planet, it wouldn't create tides, and we would have stagnant water. So, yes, there's 2 bigger moons, I believe. Titan, is Titan a bigger moon? And I believe Saturn has one. Or does Saturn have... I don't remember 100%. At sea level, it's like 3 miles for me at 6 foot. Jim says, yes, it was catastrophic. Why didn't it destroy the 2 planets? Or why didn't it create several moons? Or why did this random event happen and work so perfectly to create life on this planet would be my question there. All right, Jim, we can go into the 6,000-year-old Earth thing. I thought I did change the name of the stream. Oh, I changed the name. Why is it?
I've already searched that. I ain't got no propane. The only thing I have is the
there, it should be called Debate Me. I don't know why. Yeah, I don't want to make my things here. Okay. Yes, Pokester. Charon is bigger in relation to Pluto than the Earth is to Moon, but Pluto is not technically considered a planet. It's a dwarf planet. It's not. It doesn't fit like a couple of the different criterias. It doesn't have an even orbit, and also the Moon and Pluto themselves kind of orbit around each other. So, you know, with the size and everything, you are right. That, geez, I believe it's like half the size or something. It is big.
Why are these trees giving
Imagine the time scale. Pluto, Chiron is correct, right? It's about half the size. If I'm right? Why ask why? Drink Bud dry.
Finger fan is so nice.
That is the basic issue here, whether you believe science or not. I do believe some science. Like I pointed out with gravity, you can prove gravity. You can't prove to me. I mean, would you agree or disagree with me on this, Jim? Can you prove that how do you prove that the Earth, the universe is what, 14.5 billion years old? And on top of that, how do you prove that the universe was once smaller than the period at the end of a sentence? Those are two questions that I think science makes the statement, they claim, they go by it, but it's not provable. It's something, if you go into conspiracies or whatever, it's something that is, kind of there just like to disprove, a young Earth theory or whatever, or to prove evolution, because you got to have enough time for evolution to happen. Clint says 6,000 years can't be proven or disproven. Technically, yeah, it depends what evidence. There are many Pluto-like objects. Right, I agree with that. Kenny says it has been taught in school that Pluto is a planet again. I haven't heard that, but even if, no matter what you call it, we're people. We give names to everything, Again, here's a Bible thing. I do believe man and dinosaur were around at the same time. However, the word dinosaur didn't come into existence until, I'm not sure when, but let's say the 1700s, just, to guess or whatever. Well, if it, what was it called before it was called a dinosaur? So the fact that Pluto is a planet, it's a planet because we call it a planet. We could say Earth and Jupiter are not planets because one's rocky and one's gas, So that's just the name we give it. I'm glad there is a moon because that's been hit by meteorites, and if it wasn't there, we would have been wiped out a long time ago, says John Mosley. Well, actually, Jupiter protects us a lot more than the moon does. And I also believe the dark side of the moon, which technically isn't dark, but, we call it that because we never see it, has less craters than the side that faces us. Correct me if I'm wrong on that. Scott Knox says Big Bang. Do you believe in the Big Bang? The period exploding into this huge thing with all this matter and everything. I can't prove the Big Bang. I think if we start with how old the Earth is, that is where to start. Okay. Don't you have a Twitch account, says Batman? I do, but I never stream on it. Believing in the Big Bang Theory is no different than any other theory, including religion. No argument there. Sorry, can't go there with you, RJ. The proof of the dinosaurs is in the rocks. Well, they talk about, they found footsteps side by side, dinosaur fossilized footprints and human fossilized footprints walking in the same direction at the same distance from each other. And in terms of fossils, saying it takes millions of years to create fossils, they found a cowboy boot with a leg still in it, completely fossilized. So I understand there are rocks and there are layers of rocks and everything, but that doesn't necessarily prove that dinosaurs lived at a specific time or anything. I mean, who was it? It was a very famous traveler that said he went to China and seen like the emperor being, like his chariot or whatever it was being pulled by dinosaurs. Let's see. Pretty sure we've been hit by lots of meteorites. Ask a dinosaur. Pokester, you make a good point, because first science said all the dinosaurs went extinct when this meteor hit. Now they're trying to say dinosaurs are still alive. They're called birds. So it's like this ever-changing thing that I don't get, you know, and that's where I don't like that. Planets formed from the accretion sphere. Pluto is no longer a planet for the same reason. Okay. Oh, what happened? Accretion disk. Okay, I get you. Planets formed from the accretion disk, but man, I haven't debated this in so long. I used to have the answer to that, and now I'm drawing a blank. I'll get back to that, I hope. This is the whole issue about whether people believe in science or not, whether or not people like to deal with this. There are in this world facts, things that have been proven by experiments. What experiment has been done that proves the universe was the size of a period? What experiment has been done that proves the Earth collided with a Mars-sized planet, and that's how we got our moon, and really got us to the point where we create life? That's the thing. I believe in science. But when I say I believe in science, I believe in provable science, observable science, science that you can test and repeat. And you can't do that by saying something is made up of a lot of the same material. Did you know the first time we went to the moon, I don't even think it was a manned mission, it might have been, but they actually made like the landing gear really wide to support, because they thought there would be, I don't know, hundreds of feet of moon dust or whatever it was for how old they say the universe was. You know, they thought they would just be landing on dust or whatever and that the craft would sink. You know, that's how NASA designed it. And when they landed, they saw that it was only a couple inches thick of moon dust. And if we're also losing our moon, here's another thing for the 6,000-year-old Earth. If we're losing our moon, what are we losing it? Like an inch a year or a foot a year or whatever it is? I can't remember. Again, I used to debate this all the time, but I don't anymore. If the Earth is 6,000 years old, we don't have a problem if we're losing the Earth, you know, at the rate of an inch a year or whatever. But if the Earth is billions of years old, well, you're going to have a moon and the Earth basically touching each other, and they would rip each other apart. Let's see here.
Yeah.
Let's see. Over and over, I tend to side on the side of science because the entire concept of science is not to trust anything except for data and data that can be tested. I agree. What I think the problem is that some things, some theories are getting mixed in and taught as fact. You know, America is practically shamed by so many European countries because 1/2 of Americans reject evolution. And it's like, you know, just 40 years ago, all these other nations were hugely Catholic. I need to catch up. I'm really far back. This whole issue about whether people believe... Oh, I just read that. The footsteps are not footsteps. The boot was calcified, not fossilized. Look that up, science. Everything I saw was it wasn't calcified. It was a bona fide fossil. It's the same thing that happens to your faucets. Yeah, I'm not talking about stalactites or stalagmites. I'm talking about an actual fossilized, or what was the other thing? A bell being found in coal. Like a bell that was designed by a person. And you know, when coal forms and everything, it's, you know, science taught that it was, you know, it takes all this pressure and all these millions and billions of years. You could create diamonds in a laboratory with your own pressure. You haven't seen humans and dinosaurs in the same rocks. Sorry. Footprints, not bones. You're right on the bones. Science facts aren't statistic. Hundreds of years ago, radiation was good for you. Yes, science is always changing, and a lot of science people will use that as their argument. You know, what was it? It wasn't Galileo. Who was the person? They said... They did the thing where they dropped a big rock and a little rock, and you know, they were going to prove that the big rock hits the ground before the little rock. And all the science, you know, pointed at the big rock hitting the ground before the little rock. Guess what? They both hit at the same time. Science is ever changing. So how do you know you can trust the science today? You know? How do you know that you can trust, you know, 40 years from now, something you completely believe and put all your faith and stock into can be completely overturned? The title was changed, Mike. At least it should have been. He says, what is this? Okay, so I really need to catch up. Jim says, correct, but you can't throw out all the bathwater with the baby. Not sure what that's referring to. What about math? What about math? I'm gonna scroll down. Frank says God created all things. That's what I believe. Aaron, global warming is not happening. Global warming is happening, but did you know, what is it? How many other, there's so many other planets out there that are warming as well. So, you know, I'm not worried about global warming at all because, again, we're going back in history. There's been ice ages. There's been warm-ups. You know, I'm sure probably had something to do with the sun. Jupiter, I believe, is heating up. Saturn has been heating up. And there's a couple other planets that are warming as well. So, but I really need to catch up here. Science changes in its greatest strengths. Yes, but science still changes. That's the problem. How do you know that right now what you believe about whatever it is that science is teaching you, whether it be evolution, how old the planet is, how old the universe, how the moon was created, whatever it is, could be changed, you know, and you just have to, on a dime, you know, flip it over. Now, other things that science does that are repeatable, testable, you know, things that you get the same result in, I completely agree with that. We can't live on Mars or Earth 2.0. Why can't we live on Mars or Earth 2.0? Aliens believe in us. I'm not worried because I'm going to be dead before global warming kills everyone. Isn't global warming... Wait, global warming isn't happening. Tell that to the polar bears. Centurion, there's more polar bears alive today than there have been in, what, the past 40 or 50 years? You just see Al Gore showing a picture of one on a little iceberg or whatever, like he's holding on for dear life, but also there's a lot more... the polar ice caps are actually growing, not shrinking. So there's plenty of land for the polar bears as well.
Yo, let me get one of those.
Let's see. And it's carbon. I'm not going to say there's not carbon up there. I'm not going to say carbon is not bad for the planet. And I'm not going to say that not having, you know, having clean industry is extremely important. I just don't believe that we are at the point where we're having any impact on global warming when science itself is showing proof that other planets are warming as well. You know, why are the other planets warming, and why would the Earth be exempt from that?
I don't need materials.
Folks, just go out and look at the data. When 97 out of 100 scientists say one thing. Okay, Jim, you look like you're getting a little upset, and the last thing I want to do is lose you as a subscriber to my Golf Clash channel. Golf Clash is my #1 thing. I just thought it would be fun to come in here and have a friendly debate. I don't want anyone to get angry. I'm not here to, you know, to make anyone angry. Okay, cool. He says he's not upset. I don't know. I thought it would be fun to just kind of go back and forth and have the conversation. And Jim, I would love to have you on one day where you could actually talk. This isn't fair because, you know, I'm talking and everyone sees me on the screen and you're just in a chat. But I'd love to have you on sometime and go back and forth, and, you know, same thing with science or whoever else. But I see so many great questions that I didn't get to yet. Let's see, real quick. Do I believe in aliens also? You know, the universe is very, very vast. I think alien life has to exist somewhere. I don't know where, and I don't know in what capacity. There could be aliens on the moon, and if they're on a, like, let's say they're 5-dimensional creatures, or, you know, whatever it is, they might not notice us, and we might not notice them, you know. But I don't know what capacity aliens are in. Maybe aliens could be like spirits for all I know, or aliens could be fruit flies. It could be anything, you know. I don't know on that one. But I do believe there's life somewhere else. And there could be life in our solar system. Now, if you're talking about, are we going to get into a war with the Martians? No, I don't believe that's going to happen. But, guys, this was an excellent conversation. In about 5 minutes, J-Bone is going to be streaming. And I don't want to step on his time. The universe is so large that human brains cannot comprehend it. I can't. I can look at a star and I can't really imagine the distance. 100% right, Jim. Here's one last tidbit I'll leave you before I hop off. From what I heard, correct me if I'm wrong, Jim, or Science, you guys seem to be really well read on this. Everyone thinks when you travel through the asteroid belt, you're going to get pelted by asteroids, just like in the movies. And you actually go out of your way to avoid the asteroid belt. But I actually read, I can't cite where, that space is so vast and the asteroid belt is so huge that you can easily fly your space shuttle or probe or whatever right through the asteroid belt and not even see an asteroid. Anyway, Frank has it right. He says, I'm going to watch J-Bone. Fun and James says, woohoo, J-Bone. I hope we all had fun, and yeah, I definitely got to end this because I do not want to step on my good friend J-Bone's time. Great conversation. Love you all. Thank you so much for joining me. See you over at J-Bone's, but I won't be talking about this anyway. Take care.